You're listening to JW Raw with Eminem.
We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, or wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We are on episode number 10. It's kind of a cool little milestone for us.
It is.
It seems like we just started. So I'm Mark. This is Misha.
And this is the Cub.
Cub Swanson in
Killer
studio.
Cub Swanson.
The
What's
Killer
up?
Cub. What's up?
How's it
Cub?
going, guys?
Welcome.
Thank you.
So your fight is it was supposed to be one version, and then it might have changed, and now we're back to the original version. So how do you feel about that?
I mean, it is what it is, right? I still got an opponent. I'm still fighting.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, just matters if we want to get into all that.
Let's get into it.
All right. Well, I was saying the other day, it's like people always say, you know, be a professional and don't take it personally and stuff like that. But I do. You know, this is my life.
Of course.
So it's like,
career.
it's my career, and I'm
livelihood.
I'm trying to get these big shots, and then it's just kind of like, it's almost like they're telling me I'm not good enough, you know, and I'm like,
Which you
whatever.
prove time over time.
Yeah.
You know,
And I feel like I've been there, I've been promised, so it's frustrating, and it's like I'm getting screwed over at work in front of everybody, you know, like so it's hard to get a little bit emotional and pissed off about it, you know, because it's like my business life is just in front of everybody. I take it personal.
Well, that's what happens when you're in spotlight, I guess. But I mean, you know, it's one of those things where just so many guys in the division too, man. It's like everyone's fighting for that shot. It's like I'm sure it's like not that something that's they do in personal. I would assume, you know, it's kind of like one of those business things, because the way I saw it is like, well, you are scheduled, you know, to fight a guy. It's main event, right? And it's kind of like pulling you out from that event, and it creates a big problem for them there. So it's kind of like, I guess you just, as they say, wrong place at the wrong time in regards to the situation. You know, like it's just that fine line situation. Like, what do you do with Cub? Even though he has so much respect and he's one of the fan favorites all the time, and then this situation arises where who would have known that Frank is going to pull out?
Yeah,
you know,
that was the crazy thing too. Is I thought, okay, I'm not getting on that card, which I kind of didn't want to fight in Detroit. I was happy about Fresno because I wanted to fight in California. Every time they always send me far away, and I'm like, come on, you know, my fans want me to fight closer to home. So I was okay with it because I thought if anybody wouldn't pull out, I thought it wouldn't be Frankie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But with that kind of injury, it's kind of hard. Like that's an injury you can't fight through.
Yeah, I truly believe that if you didn't, if you weren't scheduled, you wouldn't be the first. You would be the first in line. For that replacement.
I agree.
Believe. It's just because of that. It's kind of like.
Well, what was frustrating, they were considering a lot of options, and they considered my opponent Brian Ortega, and they considered Darren Elkins, and those guys are behind me. And I was
by
like,
a mile, actually.
Yeah, and I was like, man, if they take Ortega over me, if they won't pull me from the
card,
then
it would be personal.
Then I would have been flipping out. But although I can, I can understand that, but it's still not fun.
You know, that actually brings up a good point, though. This whole ranking thing, a lot of people have been talking about it. It's picking up steam. People are just all over the place. The GSP coming out of retirement after 4 years and gets an automatic. Yeah, exactly. He's far from the ranking systems. Gets automatic title shot. That's got to be a morale buster for you guys that have been fighting every couple of weeks to get where you're at, and then something like that happens. So, I mean, what is your opinion about that? I mean,
times are changing. You know, it's like 5 years ago, if something like that would have happened, they would have made GSP fight somebody just in the top 10. Exactly. You know, because he's a legend. If it was somebody else, maybe outside the top 15, but because it was him, somebody in the top 10. And then, depending on how he looked, they would have said, okay, you get a title fight or not, you know, just because it's him. But just going straight to a title fight, is just crazy. But
Well,
that's the times we're in.
Because everyone looking for sensation, man. And
Yeah.
GSP is a sensation, you know. And then he's coming out of retirement is big news, and then moving up the, weight class and stuff like that. So that's one of those things. Once again, fine line. It's like it is an entertainment industry, but it also wants to be a legitimate sport. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Like, which one is it? So are we doing? We're going the the WWE route. We actually create a sport that's based on fairness and rankings, and you fight, you win, you get there, you fight for a title, right? Isn't it what it's all about? Like, but then you start look at the business side of it. Like, what do you pick over what? Like fairness and title shots and giving people chances, or make as much money for the company as you can?
Yeah.
Well, that being said, you grew up. I mean, you're only a fight away probably from a title shot now at this point.
But I've been hearing that for 6 years.
Well, you came a long way from the streets of L.A. I guess is where you're.
Palm Springs,
is where you started. Tell us a little bit about how you got into fighting in the first place.
All right. So I grew up playing soccer. Loved the sport. That I thought
that's totally different.
I had big hopes of wanting to be professional doing that. I just love competing. And then my life kind of changed. I was living with an adopted family, which was like extended family. And I moved back with my mom. And my mom was just kind of, had a bunch of kids. And I was kind of at a transition time in my life where I was kind of being a little rebel. Everyone goes through it. And I just went real hard, and I was hanging out with, the wrong people, gangs, drugs, alcohol at like 14, seeing people shot, been, at parties like many times.
Wow.
Just totally in the mix. And I went to juvenile hall, really messed up any chance of playing soccer at a higher level. And then I got out, and I was like, you know what, that's just not me. I can't believe I let it get that far. And I just made a choice to stop getting in trouble. And then I ended up going to a junior college playing soccer. I was 17. Played junior college soccer for a year, but I was living on my own, with my brothers. And I had to get a job and do all these things, and I couldn't really handle school.
Brothers being family brothers or gangster brothers? I mean.
Well, my real brothers, yeah. But we were all kind of getting in trouble and stuff, so I decided to try martial arts. I tried jiu-jitsu, and I was like, man, this is legit, and I kind of want to learn it. And I started competing, and I stopped. From that day forward is when I had stopped getting into trouble, but I had still been partying. And from that day forward, I stopped everything, stopped doing drugs, stopped drinking for like 5 years, and I just dedicated my life to the sport.
So your jiu-jitsu is legit. I mean, do you think that?
I concur.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's obviously a brown belt himself. Do you think that's what that kind of got you to stop doing the drugs and hanging out with the wrong people? Was the jiu-jitsu mindset, or was it?
Yeah, it's just martial arts in general. You want to be the best that you can be, and that was my goal from the day I started till now. When there are people like, oh, what do you want? Yeah, the belt seems nice, and that's like an accomplishment. But I've always wanted to be the best that I could be. And that's what I've always been chasing. And that's what's kept me in it this long. If it was just for the belt and the politics, I would have stopped a long time ago. But I still feel like I haven't given my best performance. And that's what I'm chasing.
It's one of those things where, and like, it's the same story with me, that martial arts literally changed my life. And like, look where I'm at. Like, I was growing up literally, like, I mean, I came to America by myself when I was 15, so also lost and shit, and just once I started training, there was like no turning back, man, and here we are. It's like, so for those that are listening, man, martial arts saves lives. Like, and there's so many instances where you can just pinpoint to people, and say, look, they were in trouble, man, and they brought themselves back up. It's like, it just sense of brotherhood, sense of accomplishment, things that you learn through it. Plus it's so addictive, like, especially if you have an addictive personality where, like you say, you're coming from like, I was like drinking, partying, doing drugs and stuff, and then you replace it with that, with this. It's one bad addiction for actually a good addiction. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you could ask, most fighters have addictive personalities. They're kind of extremists.
Yeah, true.
It takes a different breed of person to get this far in the sport. You have to be willing to
I think
do
you just have to
a lot
find
of
a
things.
point where you actually start. You got to
Mhm.
start, you know. So if you're down and you know you're looking for a way out, I mean, this would be a good avenue to take,
Mhm.
100%. And there's like so many people out there that will vouch for it, like
Yeah.
you, for example. And so it's funny. Your story is kind of similar to Jose Aldo, actually.
Yeah.
I just listened to it, and because did you see his movie just came out?
No, I didn't see it.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
Literally about him, soccer, you know,
Yeah.
coming from a poor background and this and that. Literally, it's funny. But yeah, it's cool, man.
Jose Aldo.
He's the one
Yeah,
fighting.
Your fights are extreme wars, and you're very entertaining to watch. So it makes no sense that you're not getting these title shots. I mean, it's almost like
What?
they want to see you.
There's always like a reason or an excuse, and I've always been like, okay, you know, I'll wait my turn, okay.
Yeah,
But now looking back, there's been over 20 title fights since I've been with the company,
wow.
and that's not including how many people have dropped out, and then there's been a replacement. So there's been multiple guys picked ahead of me in one title fight. So we're looking like more like 30. So more like 30 times I've been passed over. And then the times that I was actually promised the title fight and told in front of everybody that I would get it.
I remember that.
I was pushed to the side because somebody was more popular at the time that didn't deserve it. And they just were like, it kind of, that was heartbreaking because at the time I come from a nowhere school from Palm Springs. My instructor was like a purple belt, and I came up. I went to Pan Am's as a blue belt, training less than a year. I won it. I beat all these. There's like 50-something people in my division. Like, that was a huge accomplishment. Then I decided to move to Orange County. Started winning. Did all these things. Get to the peak. Get the title fight, and they go, "No, you're not popular enough. We're gonna give it to this guy instead." And then it's like what? So that was crushing for me. So my losses to Frankie and Max were at that point when I was at my lowest point.
It seems like you still have like a lot of miles left, right? Obviously, and you're at the end of your contract, I would believe, right? I don't know how comfortable you're talking about, like what avenues are you trying to take? If you want to share with people, just if there's something going on, you don't have to talk about it. But I'm saying, like,
yeah. So they offered me a new deal, and it's just kind of one of those things where I've always played by the rules. You know, I don't go above the matchmaker. I've always just, you know, tried to get the best deal they would give me. I did it, you know, the good guy way. You know?
You're doing it the right way.
I didn't cause any problems. I didn't speak out. And so this time I was like, you know what? I'm in a really good position right now. I've been doing good. I've never been better, and I'm not getting the things that I want. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna, you know, if Dana wants to talk, we could talk, and we've spoken about it briefly, and you know, that's where I'm at. I just want to maximize what I can earn and what I feel like I'm worth, because people think like, oh, maybe you're getting greedy, but it's like, in reality, I've trained side by side with professional boxers, and they think I'm crazy for how hard I train and how hard that we train as mixed martial artists. I'm side by side with these guys, and they're making, you know, there's multiple millionaires, you know, and the fact that I'm not a millionaire is like, I'm not a greedy person. But I would also feel like with what I've accomplished so far in my career that maybe I shouldn't have to worry about money for the rest of my life because I've been smart. I'm not the guy blowing money in the club. I'm not the guy blowing money on cars and all these things. I've invested everything that I've earned, and I don't really spend money crazy. I've been smart with it. So with how disciplined I've been, I feel like I shouldn't have to worry about money. You know, I have a retirement account. I have all these things, but if I had been given more, I could do more, you know? So I just feel like I deserve more.
I 100% agree with that, man. Because I mean, if they're trying to be a big sport, like, you know, like NFL and NBA and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking about even bench warmers that like go into NFL, right?
Yeah.
They made like freaking crazy amount of money that they don't have to worry about for the rest of their life about money.
Yeah, you're making
if they're smart
$500,000 a
with
year.
it. Yeah, you know. And then I believe that someone with your stature and with your name value, man, you deserve hell of a lot more, obviously, man. And there's a lot of guys that obviously struggle and suffer, and just I don't understand why and what it takes.
Yeah.
It's good
for someone.
It's
like
good
that.
that you're it's good that
It's
you're
good that you're talking about it. I mean,
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is I would love to stay with UFC after this. You know, this is all it is just me saying, hey, I'm not gonna take that, and I deserve a bigger piece of the pie. That's it. You know, and it's like you know, you feel like a rookie running back that's on a 6-year deal that's breaking records, you know, and then just you're like,
and
you're like after that you know, you're like, hey,
yeah, and they're still giving the credit to the quarterback that's been
yeah,
in
and
running
or
back.
he's just getting paid under what
Yeah.
your value is. So, you know, having done, you know, they always mess it up. I have 10 bonuses. They always forget my first bonus was in WC. That they're supposed to count, and for some reason it's just not on Wikipedia. So
They're
people
leaving
say
that off your
9,
record,
but I
huh?
have 10 bonuses: 8 fight of the nights and 2 knockout of the nights.
And of course, you're not going to forget those.
What
Yeah.
do you think it would take, man, to like why is that happening? Because, like, what do you think? Why?
Why in my position?
Yeah, like why?
Just
why?
because I'm not loud. I'm not talking crap, and it's not what's selling. So it just comes down to numbers. I've always told people, like, it's been frustrating because it's always a business of what are you bringing to the table.
Yeah.
So me, I have a good story, but at the end of the day, I don't speak Spanish. I come from Southern California, and fighters in California and in the U.S. are dime a dozen. So I'm ahead of the pack as far as you know, fighters. But I don't have that little something extra special. So I don't speak Spanish. I don't come from Mexico, so I'm not bringing that draw. I'm not from Asia. There's certain demographics that are huge. You know, very profitable to the company and to mixed martial arts in general. So I'm not that, like, you know, that unicorn, you know.
Yeah.
So
Dana White's all about what are you going to bring to the table? How are you going to sell out stadiums?
Well, which he
and-
does by
yeah.
freaking
California.
by his performances, man.
Yeah.
Like that's what's crazy, man.
and I felt like that was always going to be enough, and it's just it's not, I guess. But
You got to walk around smoking weed and cussing out photographers and stuff, like the Diaz brothers,
Sure,
those
sure.
other
Sure.
California
Yeah.
guys. I don't
smacking
know.
officials,
Yeah,
like
jumping in the
I
kid.
would never do that. You know, like, to me, the thing is, people go, well, just start talking crap, just start doing that. But the thing is like, I got into martial arts. People don't forget that I got into martial arts to become a better person.
Yeah.
And once I started becoming a role model to kids and stuff like that, I took that, like, really responsibly, and I was like, man, I can't mess up anymore. I can't like do that. So, like, for me to, like, start talking crap to people and, like, doing all that, it's just not me.
It's going to come out fake.
That's not, yeah. It's
We're going to look at you and say, who's this guy?
It's like Michelle was saying on that
Yeah.
previous show about, you know, there's this good guy and bad guy thing, you know. So
yeah.
and you know, once you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
You can't you know, you can't change it. Man.
So you're surviving. You're surviving with the fights you're getting. You're getting paid. You've splurged. You had to have splurged on something cool somewhere along the line. Or
You
was,
just
like, the
opened your own
coolest
gym,
splurge?
right?
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing, too, is like,
It's like it gave you
What-
opportunities, obviously, too.
what's the name of my gym?
UFC.
UFC Gym, Costa Mesa. I invested back in the company because I believe in it,
Yeah.
you know, and it's an amazing gym, and I don't regret it. I think my gym is awesome, and
Of course.
it's like that's the kind of things is I'm trying to be, you know, that role model. I'm trying to live up to what I think, like, a kid would think about us, you know. I'm not trying to.
Well, you're trying to be the company man, and you are the company man. You've invested your money back into the company. It's got the name of your company that you're part of, and it would be hard now to
Separate
kind of go.
yourself.
Yeah, how are you going to go to Bellator now when you've invested in a UFC gym? I mean, it's
a lot of money. That's how.
I hope they're gonna. I wish, and I guess I know that anyone who's gonna listen from there. But hey, guys, man, you gotta sit down with Cobb, man.
Come on, Dana.
Talk to Cobb, man.
Yeah.
He's a good dude, man. You gotta talk to Cobb, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
make-
we'll see what happens.
Make things happen.
and then that's the thing now is now I got to go out there. I got put in a position to
Gotta do the right thing. man.
go, you know, have to showcase my skills once again and prove myself once again. So I got to go out there and make fireworks happen December 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
and-
anything, like finish your contract with a bang, man.
Yeah, and that's what I have to do. And you know, that's kind of a scary situation sometimes, but being as confident as I am now because of what I've been through and this long journey. It's like I learned a long time ago, you got to gamble on yourself and you got to believe in yourself. So,
well, we do support you, Cubs. So if you ever need anything from us, we can show support in any way possible here.
Yeah, we're always trying to promote you guys as much as we can. Obviously, we take you guys as family, So we want the best for
this place with all you guys under one roof. That's what made this place what it is today. Just everyone uplifting each other. That's the way I see it. You gotta uplift each other, fucking, move each other in the right direction. No matter if you're amateur or like for example, you guys working together. Danny is working with you and all these amateurs. It's just like there's a new wave of fighters coming up, but they wouldn't be able to do it without your help.
Yeah.
So like that's why. I mean, we're at the stage. I know the sport is in the infancy stages still. If you compare it to boxing and stuff like that. But like, there's already guys like you that just elevated the sport to new heights, man. That's why it's like, And I always feel bad for like old timers and stuff. That's why you see a lot of them still fighting because they made a name over the years, like big names, and they're older now. And now they can maybe start getting paid, and they fight and still for pennies if you think about it.
Yeah.
Still for pennies, but for more than they used to make back in the day. Now since you have the name, it's like that's why you see this. Oh, guy, he needs to retire. Who are you to say? Are you going to feed their family? If that's all they've been doing for the rest of their life. It's like why would you say to them you need to retire? You're not in their shoes.
Yeah.
Like, with Diego this week, you hear this and that. It's like, Diego, I'm not done. Stuff happens. It's fight. Win, fight, whatever. Everyone's different. But
see, and that's my whole thing about wanting to get paid is that I always wanted to walk away on my terms. I've almost had to retire twice now because of injuries and because just one day that it can be taken away.
Exactly.
And I had to really sit down and think, and I was just like, man, I could do better. And I kept moving forward. But at the end of the day, I want to be financially secure to say, you know what, I don't want to take that risk anymore. I have a daughter now, and then hopefully, a bigger family. Yeah. Thank you. Down the road, and I'd like to be able to say on my terms when I say it's over, not on someone else's, and I think that's huge.
Me personally, I look at it also like at the bigger picture in the future, because like guys like you, obviously, and if you have an opportunity to make money, most of the guys like. At this point, like you invested back in the UFC, you help the sport to grow.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can look at the person individually, or you look at the big picture. That's why I think everyone, especially at that stage, at that level, have done so much to the sport and will continue to do so for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That's why, like, and a lot of people walk away from the sport, because like, what, I dedicated so many years. Have guys with 40, 50, 60 fights. And and then they build their little empires around them, this and that. But at the end of the day, you look back and you're like, damn, man, I have nothing.
Yeah.
Except broken bones and injuries and stuff like that. And I believe that's why, like, when they talk about unions, like, I don't know much about it in a way, but like, there's got to be some kind of fund made for retired fighters and things like that, man. Like, there's got to be some kind of end goal. Like some end situation where, like, you know what, I dedicated my life to this. I did what I did. I elevated it to the status that I elevated it to. I've done a lot for it. Now, I mean, when I retire, when my family will be taken care of, this and that and this stuff, Like, if you go in the military, you go in any other job, there's an end goal. Pension plans, medicals, things like that, right?
Yeah.
But you rarely see this. It's like you're a contracted guy, you get in, you want to fight, 1 fight, 2 fight, you're always running around looking for fights. It's like almost like no stability to certain people, man. Like it's like what does it take to one person to get to that level and make a successful career? It's very hard.
Yeah. And when you walk away, that's it. Nothing.
Yeah.
No royalty checks, no nothing.
Yeah. And people love the sport so much. There's so many, like, we around this all the time. So we see so many, like, fans of the sport, so many influential people that are around it. And I always encourage guys, take care of the fighters, man. Find a way. There's so many great people, man. It's like you like the sport, you like to be entertained, you like to come in and watch the guys spill blood. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, if you have power to help fighters, do it, man.
Yeah,
just do it.
Well, you just had baby Royal
Royal.
How are you balancing this whole the fight life with the new baby? How's that working out?
It's been awesome, and that's like one of the things that I've been able to have a long career too. Is I always try to carry myself as a professional. So even with the baby, I I told the UFC before I took the Artem fight that I wanted to fight sometime in that time frame and that I was going to take some time off. And they were like, why? And I was like, for personal reasons.
Yeah.
And I told them later. And so my plan was to fight in April, take time off, and then fight in December. And I would perfectly have enough time to, you know, help my girlfriend Kenda with her pregnancy and then be there for the birth and then have time to adjust to having this new thing in my life and possibly not sleeping, which she's actually been awesome and sleeps through the night, and I feel so blessed for that. But I learned to adjust already to you know, training with a new baby and all that. So
Coach Wink loves guys like you because you're just totally
family man.
Yeah, totally family.
Wink is a big family
screw the
man, you know?
UFC for these few months. I'm gonna hang out with the family.
Speaking of Kenda, actually, because like I was back in the day, I used to watch a lot of fights, right?
Uh-huh.
You probably would know, but she was a big host for the Pride stuff, right?
Yeah.
And is she still involved in the MMA world and stuff? Or
yeah,
just complete
well,
money?
she's still with the UFC. She just kind of like
Just
on maternity leave.
Don't see a lot.
Yeah, she's done kind of less and less, and still trying to figure it out with the whole.
She's an iconic figure, man, in the
Yeah.
MMA sport, man,
Yeah.
back in the day. They know that?
No,
Oh, man. Used to be every night, like, not every night, but it was like weekly, whatever. On I remember I had like this cable box and stuff. I used to
Yeah.
watch Pride and stuff. It's like
So
another
what's she
channel.
doing for the UFC now? Or
She does hosting, so she hosts
okay.
like parties, and she's over always at all the fights in like North America, Canada, and some of Mexico.
oh, cool. It's a good job.
Yeah, she's been doing that for years. She was doing like off and on some interviews backstage, but they have so many people now. And then she was doing the Best of Pride and the Best of WEC.
She was a front lady, man. Like she, like you know, like those programs that put like the best highlights and things like that. She'd be the
So
host.
it's like Joe Benavidez' wife.
Yeah, it
It's
was
Yeah.
usually-
the same type.
Yeah, it used to
okay.
be. Actually, at that point, it was actually even bigger because there was not as much material on the TV.
hmm
So and it was like Best of Pride, Best of UFC were like very, very big.
That's really
things,
cool.
man.
So I'm
Like,
assuming that's
okay.
how you guys met then.
Yeah, because we work together all
Yeah.
the time. So the one thing the UFC did use me for was because I was so good with fans is they had me travel a lot, which I was grateful for. So a lot of times I would work events and me and her would be paired up together. So we just were friends.
Perfect.
And then just come to find out she lived like right by my manager in Orange County, and I would go stay with him all the time because I go out there all the time. It's not that far from where I live. And so then we started hanging out outside the UFC, and you know, it
That's
just
a true
happened.
love story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
See a UFC. See what everything around covers UFC, man. You got to stay in the UFC, man. Like what the hell, man?
Yes, it's like they almost don't want to lose you.
This is a
yeah,
perfect
this-
success story.
Yeah.
You know,
But they're throwing away a gift.
The thing is, I know that they like me because I've done everything for them.
it's just like,
But-
what does it take?
Yeah, but the problem is like I'm being asked to do certain things, and like what I was telling these guys about the sport is like if you have something to offer, you know, you might get the right matchups. You know, it's not like you and you, but when you're just somebody like, oh, this guy's good, throw him in, be like, okay, match these guys up. So for me, my role has been for years is they've told me this. Literally, they think like, who could possibly fight for the title and maybe win? So that every matchup they give me for since I've been with the UFC, they're thinking, man, who's the toughest guy we could give them? That's been my role.
Yeah, you're always
So
you're
so
the pit
I'm,
bull. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that like, damn, that's a tough job. But I've taken it and always been like, okay, how many times I've been underdog?
And collected
Okay.
heads.
Yeah, and then it's like, you know, that guy got knocked back down a few pegs. But if I would have been, let's say, you know, something, you know, like I said, if I spoke Spanish and I was from Mexico and I had a huge draw from Mexico, then they'd be like, no, let's give him this guy, this guy, this guy. You know, you get a little bit, you get groomed a little better, you know. And so my role has always been, you know, to fight the sharks, and I've done that. So you would think like, man, I've done it for you. Come on, throw me a bone.
You gotta have some kind of image, I guess, that just I don't know what it is.
I don't understand, man, because
the guy
you
that
are a
fought,
freaking
Andre, the
superstar in the
baby,
sport, though.
wearing
Like,
diapers during his fight. You gotta have a cool little
I just
gimmick
don't
like
get it.
that or something.
Yeah, and then the problem is when I was fighting all those studs, the ones that I happen to have losses to are still right there. So that's been my biggest problem. is like I've only lost to the very best, and those very best are still right there. So
Yeah,
it's
one of
like
them is a champion.
yeah,
Literally.
yeah.
And then why wouldn't you deserve a
all my
rematch
losses-
if you work yourself up?
All my losses are to people that fought for the belt or held the belt. That's it.
If hopefully everything works out with that, but if it doesn't, you know, and then what are the options? Like I mean, I would assume Bellator. Is that what it is, or whoever comes around?
Yeah. I mean, I would.
What about $1 million PFL tournament?
Yeah.
Who would want to fight Cub at that that tournament? Because there's no one that level though. Like I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of organizations, like
It's
I said,
Russian
but
money.
I'm really not even focused on it. I'm focused on this fight, having a good performance, and then seeing what happens. I'll be able to take a little time off,
Sit down.
spend time with my family, you know, at home. I always love fighting early December because then I get to eat on Christmas and spend so much
New
time with
Year's,
like my
exactly.
family,
Yeah.
and then I'll let my manager and all them hash it out. You know, if they want to meet me in person, that's fine. But I kind of want to separate myself from it because I have a tendency to be like, okay, you know, and I'll take one for the team.
Yeah.
So I need to not do that anymore. I got a
Yeah.
family to worry about.
Yeah.
So California being home, there's so many great gyms in California. What brought you to Jackson Wink?
Well, just at the time, because, you know, things kind of go up and down. So at the time, I moved to Orange County, and I was training out there for a long time with Eric Paulson and a place called OC Muay Thai. And it was awesome. I learned so much. Eric Paulson is the man. Taught me a lot of catch wrestling, a lot of tricky stuff, which is more my style.
The big guy, right? Though.
Yeah.
I know who
And
it
Josh Barnett was there, and we had
Mm-hmm.
James Wilkes. We had a bunch of other people.
Old timers.
And then there was just a point where I was training for Jens Pulver, and I was training with like some of the girls in the gym, and then like that, I really didn't have a lot of training partners. Everybody was big.
We get that story a lot. Yeah.
So I mean, and I always didn't mind helping them out, but you know, I was like, man, this is the biggest fight of my career so far. I need some help. So I ended up starting doing camps with Joe Stevenson and all these guys that were in the UFC, just like Tyson Griffin, Gray Maynard, Joe Stevenson, Jay Huron, all these guys just getting into the UFC starting. And I was kind of like a punching bag, you know, and I could mimic their opponents, and I would just be that guy. And they helped me out. they helped me out, and literally that's how I learned from Joe Stevenson is how to give back. He would take care of most of the things in camp, and I would just kind of buy my food, but he would pay for most of the stuff. And then, you know, I still do that nowadays with guys coming up, these guys behind me, Dan and Rafa. You know, they follow me around, and
I moved the camera.
messed up the
Wrong
camera.
one. Yeah.
You know, because they're chasing their dream, and they're helping me out. They're studs coming up, and I need those hungry young guys. But
Push
you know, I pay for the most stuff because I make the most. They don't have much, so they're just getting by, and I'm kind of giving back. And I would assume that they're going to do the same when they're in the big show.
100%, man. And then
Dan
been
Argueta
helping.
just fought
He's
this
been
weekend.
he's been helping a lot of guys. It's one of the best wrestlers, man, in the team actually, period, by
Mhm.
far. And helped my son too.
Yeah.
Back in the day, still carries it with him. No, it's cool, man. That's cool. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
So Jackson Wink became
Yeah. So after that, So Joe Stevenson ended up having a falling out with his coach after we did a bunch of camps, and he came out here, and I ended up going to Alliance for the Jose Aldo fight. And then I was really good training, but I just, you know, I wasn't sure if it was home. Then Joe Stevenson came out here for camp. He did really well. He loved it, and he just called me, and he's like, what are you going to do for your next camp? He's like, I think you should just come out here. I think you'd love it. Trust me, come out here. So I just came out here, and I think Leonard had a fight coming up, so I kind of helped him out a little bit.
Leonard Garcia?
Yeah, Leonard Garcia. And so I kind of helped out, got to field training, went with him to his fight, and I just, you know, liked Greg, Wink, everybody here, and I was like, man, you know what? I like it out there. And that might have been like 8 years ago.
Yeah, you've been coming back
and so
ever since.
I've been coming out here, and I've been sleeping on couches and sleeping on the floor for big big fights, I'm sleeping on floors, man. So I've been putting in my dues here.
Yeah, those days are over, man. Thank God. It's long, but now
See, everyone
the
has
new
a
generation,
chance,
you see
man.
them sleeping on couches and floors. And
Yeah, and
chasing the same dream.
And I've always had a bad back, man. And I'd wake up just from hard days of training, sleeping on couches,
me, man.
and thinking I'm on I'm fighting on national television, and people think I'm rich, and I'm like, I'm driving a car with no air conditioning, and I'm sleeping on dudes' couches. Like,
that is a misconception. People think fighters get so much money, and now that I'm in this business watching it, it's fascinating to see that you guys are putting your lives on the line for so little money, especially in the beginning. You're not even getting paid in the beginning, and so yeah, when for you to have been a smart investor once you started making money says a lot about you.
Well,
Because,
I just watched and learned because I saw so many people ahead of me when I was training with all those guys that were in the UFC. They were just making money, especially on sponsorships.
Yeah.
They're making 50 to 100 grand just in sponsorships.
Yeah.
At the time, that was before there was a tax and stuff like that, and things changed. And so I had no money, and I would watch them blow $8,000 at the club, and I'd be like, like what?
Yeah, you kind of came in at a time when, of course, Reebok took over and kind of screwed up that whole sponsor thing. So you didn't really get to take advantage of it as long as some of those old timers like you were talking about.
Well, see, the thing is though, is like I've been for the Reebok sponsorship. Because
you're just like the ultimate company man, I'm telling you.
Well, because I feel like I look back at the older fights and see people's shorts and just how like it looked like a NASCAR out there, I look at the old shorts and I'm like, man, that looks awful.
Yeah, it's like 13 sponsors on the thing.
And I would get so annoyed because I used to make my own shorts and I would have them custom, so I would kind of look different. And all these companies, Venom, Bad Boy, and Hayabusa,
the big names, yeah.
They would everybody every night would wear the same shorts, and I'd be like, you guys have no identity, but you could. And I kind of did my own thing. So that's what I don't like about it, is that I'm not able to custom do it. And when we were told originally about Reebok that we were going to have more say-so.
That's what I miss the most about it, actually, that everyone had their own kind of image.
Yeah.
Surrounding like Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz and stuff like you.
We talked to Johnny Hendricks a couple weeks ago, and he's with Fram and Bass Pro Shops, but he can't wear that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough.
See, I like the fact that we have uniforms, but I feel like we should just be allowed to still have one major sponsor and be pre-approved.
It could still be made by Reebok and
have
a big Reebok logo on it, but like customize it towards the fighter to make a character of the fighter, because you are a character. You kill a cub, right?
Yeah.
So you have this image around you. So that's what I never understood about that. Why wouldn't they do that? Have a big Reebok logo that's designed by Reebok. Everyone knows it's Reebok. Yeah. But custom make it per fighter. Yeah. Work with fighter individual and say, hey, like, what's your image? What the character do you want to build?
Yeah.
Like, and signify it that way. Like, maybe even like come up with a rope or with something, something different, something for entertainment purposes, where people is going to want to buy it, actually, because then you can differentiate person and see it. Okay, that's Cobb. Before back then, when you saw something like Iceman and stuff, you knew it belonged to his style. That's why I never understood. That's why, like, how they said the sales of Reebok. Mm-hmm. Where you get a percentage from it if people buy it, but like how many people do really buy it? Like, is there a lot of people?
Well,
you could have your own brand.
It was like a $90, jersey, and then we would get like $6 or something like that.
How many do you have to sell?
You can go on UFC.com right now, type in Cub Swanson, it'll say 0 results.
Really?
They only have like Sage Northcutt. Paige Van Zandt.
But you have a crazy following, though. That Killer Cub is engraved in history of freaking sport, man. There's your stickers all over there.
I was about to say that. Yeah, we
You're
got
a good
Cub
marketing guy.
The only reason there's no stickers in this room is because
we got to get some actually.
This wasn't built yet when the first time we started putting stickers. Actually, I think there is one behind the curtain over there.
Yeah,
that was another thing that about being a fighter. You have to learn as you go, and that was something that I learned about marketing was. Okay, I'm not the guy that's talking. I'm not the big loudmouth, but I do have an exciting fighting style, and I have a lot of people that like me. So let me create a logo. Let me create like an icon that people can kind of associate me with, and I can push that logo and people know it's me, and me become more of a symbol. And I decided to do that, and I learned that through fighting.
And then it got taken away. So
But I want to know what goes into making shorts. I mean, you brought that up. Didn't realize you were a seamstress too.
No, yeah. So here's another thing I learned from. I always heard about people being smart, and I heard about Rob Deerdick. The skateboarder, and people know about him.
Ridiculousness.
And apparently, and so what people don't know about him, unless you really looked him up, is like he had, I think, his DC shoes, and he actually made when he had a signature series, he designed them, and they became their best sellers. And he designed multiple pairs. He was like, I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's an iconic brand at this point.
The reason he did it is he kind of took stock in the company, and he became a bigger role, kind of like Jordan, with Nike. So Virus is an apparel company that's doing big things. And when they came to me, they didn't have any money. They came to me when nobody was calling me because I had just come off an injury. Literally, my phone wouldn't, I hadn't talked to anybody, and I didn't even know if I was going to fight again. They called me. They said, hey, we remember you. We used to work at Tap Out, and we started this new venture. We believe in you. And I was like, man, well, if you believe in me, then I'm down. And they gave me a small piece of the company instead of paying me cash. And I just thought about Rob Deerdick. That's how he did it. And I was like, man, I'd rather not take cash right now and suffer and for the bigger goal in the long run. And that's what I've always done with my career and stuff. And so I got a piece of the company, and I'm a brand ambassador, and so they would custom make my shorts, and I do go sit down with them and design my own stuff with them. And
so you're still connected with them?
Yeah. I have a piece of the company, so they're family to me, and they support me. And if I call them all the time and say, hey, my friend, this fighter wants gear, send them gear, so it's just been good all the way around, a good relationship, rather than me just taking money from them. I became involved with them on another level.
Because non-UFC can still wear it.
I believe life has a way of rewarding people for good things, man.
Yeah.
I think it'll come, Cub. It's like it's here and there. But I think life has a way of turning things around. It's just no matter what. I mean, if it's not that way, not everyone is destined to be like, let's say, a multimillionaire. But maybe life rewards you in some other way, like a beautiful child and stuff.
Yeah.
And just which motivates you to do better and look for opportunities, which is what you're doing now. And I'm sure doors will open up. I 100% believe, because it's freaking Cub Swanson. What the hell? How can they not?
I've always
one of
looked
the best
at
fighters in the world, man. Like,
Thank you. I've always looked at it like this. I always just think like, look at John Jones. He's here. He's our teammate. He's just so gifted, man. Just unbelievably gifted. Yeah. And he became champion at a young age, and he's done it again and again. He comes back, does it again. He just wows you. And you could say negative things about him, obviously. And that's that's not the point that I'm trying to make. It's just the fact that things came very easy to him just on how talented he was. And I always felt that the way that he would carry that belt, that somebody in my position, it would mean so much more. And I don't think that anybody would appreciate it more because of what I've had to go through as far as, to get to that end goal. Like, it didn't come easy to me once I get there. So that's what kind of motivates me too, is like it'll mean so much more to me, having that accomplishment than somebody else. So that motivates me, like, man, my journey's strong, and I'm just going to keep pushing.
It'll come. It'll come. Hey, off topic, let's you were talking about your hard life, right, and stuff like this. You've been involved in a lot of street fights, didn't you, back in the day?
Yeah. I mean, and one thing I do want to clear up is I've had some rough times, but I ultimately had a pretty good life. Like, I
just taught you good lessons.
Made you a good portion of my life was pretty easy, other than the reason I was adopted is because my father passed away. Here's a crazy thing too. My father passed away when I was 3 months old. He was the exact age I am now when I had my daughter. So it's kind of a trippy story. And I don't talk about it too much. But yeah, so I had a pretty easy life after that because I always had family around. Just kind of circumstances were always difficult. And then my biggest troubles were the troubles that I put myself into. Yeah. When I decided to go do things and go, oh, well, you know, this is the situation you put yourself in.
Yeah, just you're product of your own environment. That's how I always say. You know, if you grew up in certain areas with certain things and stuff like that, you know, you absorb, you know, certain things and it just consumes you. You know, it's not like a lot of people say, oh, he's a troublemaker. Like you say, sometimes people say, oh yeah, he made the choice, but sometimes it's like you're young. You know, you don't know what the choice is. Yeah. Like you don't know. Like especially if you're kind of on your own. And to a certain extent, you know, where you just get involved in things you like. Later on, you look at it like, damn, like, why the hell did I do it? But, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean if that person did something bad that they're really a bad person. It just sometimes it's life, you know. Some people just tend to steer that direction just involuntarily even. It's like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go and, like, rob someone, you know. It's like, I'm sure that person doesn't want to freaking do that. It's like, it's not like one of those things where, like, you know, just you're a product of your own environment. You know, people influence you in different ways. You grow up around. Who knows? You know, that's why I usually don't judge people like right away unless I know them. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been through hard life myself, man, and I know what it takes. I never wanted to be a bad person. I did things that I regret that I did. Yeah, you know, it's life.
Yeah, sometimes in the moment you make a choice and you're like, ah, man, I wouldn't have made that choice again. You know,
if I knew about what the consequences are gonna be.
But I did.
There's certain obvious things, obviously, but you know, some things are not obvious to you at the time. They would seem, you know, obvious.
I did get into some street fights to answer your question.
Did you have a record on that or no?
Nah, because you know what, it was where I came from. There was like a lot of. There were like, there's some rough areas where I live, and there's a lot of really nice areas, but then there's some not so nice areas. So where I live, there was like the heart, like the for real gang members, like
Crips
you know,
and Bloods, the original Crips and Blood stuff going on out there.
Yeah, and people are strapped, and you know, but then there was a lot of like, you know, cliques where it was guys that were always getting in fights and stuff like that, but they weren't gangbanging. You know, they weren't pulling guns. So that was kind of the difference. But they were like, we all kind of hang around like same parties and stuff like that. And you knew like, okay, that guy carries a gun. Don't mess with him. So they used like different levels, you know? Yeah. And so most of the fights that I got into were like brawls.
The unarmed version.
Yeah. And they were brawls, but sometimes, you know, there was gunshots in the air or at somebody, but
it wasn't when you had the martial arts experience.
No, like this was before. So
raw aggression. Like without, you know, untrained aggression.
And they weren't a lot of one-on-one fights. It was more like, you know, 10-on-8 and just kind of like, holy, what just happened?
This actually opens up a point in my it opens up a good point in my head. So an untrained person, you know, who thinks they're badass and they can, you know, fight, you know, and then versus a person who is trained, like if you would have looked back in your future, I mean, if you looked forward in your future and knew that, you know, you possess certain martial arts, right, and you'd be a freaking literally killer cub, you know, that's can kick your ass like freaking legitly, and to where you were then and you were fighting, like how would you measure from that aggression, uncontrolled aggression, to controlled aggression, that but the skills that you have now, the skills that you didn't have back then? You see where I'm coming from? Like, how do you measure? It's like, because there's a lot of people still in this world, you know, you see it on World Star and all the time, people just getting fights and freaking, you know, pulling hair and breaking each other's faces, like, you know, but they're truly not fighters, like trained fighters, a lot of them, because a trained person would not do that. You know, and they would train if they would meet someone, like let's say they jump on someone and then they get their ass kicked, and you know, be like, holy shit, who just put hands on me? You know, like I couldn't even move. You know,
and I don't even like those fights. I don't like watching them.
But like, what's the difference between an untrained person at respect to a trained guy in a controlled environment?
Patience, vision, understanding of what's, you know, the big picture.
It's very dangerous.
I remember when I was training the first time, and my brother was always the cause of the problems. We got into a brawl, and outside of a club the day before Thanksgiving. So this was always like known. The day before Thanksgiving, people would come home, you know, to visit family from all over the place,
from all over the country.
And so everybody would go out and drink because most people they were like, Thanksgiving, we'll go out the night before, get hammered.
Because I'm stuck with family all the next day.
So we were at this club, and everybody let out, and there's like this little like kind of waiting area, like a big area, and there probably was 150 people, and there was about 4 security guards trying to tell everyone to leave, and everyone was just like,
Poor guys.
get out of here. And I believe my brother had an exchange of words with somebody and just dropped him. And then at that moment, everybody looked around and thought like, oh yeah, I don't like that guy over there. And about 150 people started brawling.
Here we go.
And it was just madness. The biggest brawl I've ever seen.
Those 4 security guards just went, all right.
Yeah,
I quit today.
And this humongous dude, I looked and he was looking right at me, and he squared up with me, and it was the guy's friend that my brother had punched. And he just wound up a big right hand and swung at me. And I remember thinking, like, that was the slowest thing I've ever seen. And I just took one step back, and he missed. And I hit him with a 1-2 and, like, and pushed him. And then he, like, spun around and somebody else punched him. And then I just turned around and bolted because I was, like, in the midst of 150 people. And I didn't want to be there. I wasn't trying to get in a fight. The guy swung on me first. And me and my brother and like 4 other people started running, and we literally were like, holy crap, and turned around, and everyone was still fighting. And we just bolted out of there.
So that brings up a good point. If you were to go into a street fight again, who would be your backup, your ultimate dream team, fight team, street fight team? Who would you take with you?
Probably my brother.
Really? Out of all your UFC partners out here, your brother.
He's a 125.
His brother's the only one that's probably not going to run over. He's 125.
Yeah, he's a 125.
Wow, this is a lot about your brother. Wow, that's awesome.
He's got a lot of heart, and he backs me up 100%. So
that's cool.
If anybody tried to touch me,
it's not your bro. Who else?
He's a little bro, big bro. What?
He's my older brother.
Have you ever been here? I don't think.
Yeah,
I met
he's been here.
Yeah,
but he was here at the old Jacksons.
Oh, he's never been new one.
Yeah,
you gotta bring him back.
But smaller.
Yeah. Literally.
And we're battling for
Killer
who has
Club,
more
Little Cub.
tattoos.
Wow.
He has his whole front done, and I have my.
Tramp stamp.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, yeah, he covered that.
No, he got inspected.
He's covering his cover-ups now.
Yeah, he had like this little tattoo that he didn't like, and so he just got like this whole. He got his whole front done to cover it up.
Our Lady
And I
of
was like,
Guadalupe
holy
or
crap!
something.
Damn.
That's awesome. Wow, this is a lot about your brother. What a
awesome.
badass. That's
Yeah,
that's
but
cool.
yeah, he's been in way more fights than I have. Way more.
And it's funny that the little guy, right? When you're like,
Well,
always
and
the
that's why.
disadvantage, like,
That's
always
why.
the little guys getting a lot
Got
of
a lot to
freaking fights
prove.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, people always try to mess with him, and then he just
Oh,
would
I
like,
know.
Really?
boom. I mean, he hits hard
Yeah.
for a little guy, and that's why. And that's where most of my fights came from. Is like, oh, we're fighting now, okay. So.
That's
You know,
funny.
it's like if your brother, you're at a party and your brother punches somebody and he's got 10 friends, you're like, oh, I guess we're fighting now.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't say no to that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, that's awesome.
like if
Appreciate
you-
you spending some time with us, Cub. It was awesome. We're definitely going to be tuning in December 7th. Is it
December 9th.
The 9th.
Yeah.
And it's in California, so
Yeah.
we'll make sure that this will we'll promote the crap out of it as much as we can. We're gonna do what we can to get you moved up to some better fights. I
Yeah,
mean,
well-
I don't know what the heck it's going to take, but we gotta get you fighting for some titles, man. This is ridiculous already.
Well, I got to do work on December 9th. It's the one thing I don't want to take away from that. You know, Brian Ortega, he's undefeated. Yeah, there's a good step up for him. You know, tough up and comer. These are the kind of people that I have to keep taking out. So,
What do you know about him? Is he a striker, grappler, what? A little bit of both.
well, he's a
What?
jiu-jitsu black belt
Okay.
under, I think, Henry Gracie. So he's out there at the Gracie Academy.
Well, this should be fun.
But he does like to box. I'm thinking he's gonna want to throw a little and then try to, get me down at some point. So
You know, my question I had about, because you know, a lot of people know about you like to stand and bang, and just you have good hands, good feet, and good striker. Period. But not a lot of people pay attention to your jiu-jitsu, man, which is as legit as it gets. I don't understand why you don't. You know, I know you like to make it flashy and stuff, but man, like I roll with you, and I know the pace you push. So, like, I don't, like, do you plan on using it more, like, in the future fights?
I do.
Utilize it more? Or you just want to continue pretty much sticking
No,
to
I
what
definitely
you do?
plan on using it more. The problem is when I moved from Orange County back to Palm Springs and then started training out here, I trained a lot of boxing and a lot of stand-up, a lot of wrestling defense, and I really didn't have that high-level grappling competition. I mean, for a good portion of maybe 5 years, I rolled maybe once every couple months, you know, and it was just all just natural. And now I'm like, I've been for the last, 3 years maybe, I've been rolling consistently and upping my training partners, the level of my training partners, and it's more consistent. So you can't just it's not as comfortable to go to it. So it's something
You're
to
ready
come
if it's
back.
there.
Yeah, once I got dominated by Frankie, I was so frustrated, and I just was like, okay, I'll fix that. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I've been training for those guys. I've been training for Max since I lost that fight. So I'm just trying to be better and better. But yeah, my jiu-jitsu is getting better and better.
Your black belt, what lineage is it? Who is it from?
So I'm originally under Joe Moreira, and came up with him. Then when I went with Eric Paulson, I started doing all catch wrestling, and he could have belted me, but he's had some people just kind of like try to discredit his skills, which the dude is phenomenal. And so he is like under Higgin Machado. So whenever he's gonna promote somebody, he has me, go to Higgin and see like if I'm legit. So my black belt is from Higgin Machado. I'm a Higgin Machado black belt.
Man. Machado brothers, man. It's one of the biggest names in jiu-jitsu by far.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, so I've been able to train under Higgin Machado, Joe Moreira, who a lot of people don't know about, is very high level and very good. And then Eric Paulson, who's an amazing catch wrestler. So I've trained under some of the best people. So
Every time I think I'm going to see a great jiu-jitsu match in the UFC, it ends up being a striking match, and it's fascinating to see that you have that power to just go to the ground and turn each other into pretzels, and it ends up being just a slugfest instead.
Yeah.
But
Which that fight with Ortega, man, kind of like similar styles, no? Because
Yeah.
you're a good boxer, so you said he's a good boxer. He's a black belt jiu-jitsu, you black belt. So
Yeah.
let's see who,
yeah,
it's
we're almost the same. I would say that he's more comfortable grappling and just learning.
But he will have to take you down. How's his wrestling?
His wrestling's not good.
He ain't taking it.
Yeah, and so my wrestling's probably better.
My son couldn't.
But I'm more comfortable striking, and I'm
He's
probably
13.
I'm getting back to where I felt like super comfortable when I was competing way back in the day.
Wow, cool.
With my jiu-jitsu. So I'm not worried
we
about
got
his
nothing to
ground
worry
game.
about. Yeah,
But I'm gonna try knock him out because that's fun.
He's about the same size.
He's a little taller, and he's kind of broad, but he's soft. He's got a jiu-jitsu body.
Yeah. I see.
Old school jiu-jitsu body.
Yeah, according
He just did this funny dance, wasn't it, on his Instagram?
I think I did see that.
Yeah,
But
he
he's
has
like,
long hair, right?
yeah. He's a surfer.
Surfer dude. Yeah, that's right.
He seems like a good dude.
Yeah, I'm
But
looking at the numbers. You're both 68 inches
height.
Yeah.
He's 12-0.
He might be an inch taller.
Yeah, I think he's slightly
So
taller.
somebody messed this up. Yeah, you got a 70-inch reach. He's
You
got
can't
69.
trust that.
Yeah, whoever comes up with these UFC stats are
I think
liars.
I think Uriah's height is 5'7".
Oh, really?
And you're like, come on, bro.
Yeah. where do they get these numbers?
He got
Come
over
on.
30 fights, bro. He has 12. that's experience right there.
Mm.
You think you've absorbed a lot of damage over your life,
Me?
over term career, in the way of that?
I think more in the training. When I was training, not so smart. But like the one thing that I always say is like, I've never been knocked out in the UFC, knock on wood. Jose Aldo was the closest, and people are like, "Oh yeah, this happened," but people don't understand the first punch of the fight is always the worst. Like kind of like because your brain and your body has to adjust to this.
Yeah, tensed.
In the first one, you're taking like a baseball bat to the face. It felt like
which with McGregor.
It fractured my eyebrow bone and
crap.
it split my eye underneath and above.
Wow.
So I just like I was like wanting to get in.
That's what Aldo did?
Yeah, I just wanted to pressure because everybody was afraid of his kick. So I was like, well, I'll just walk straight forward and took a knee to the face. And I remember just being like it didn't knock me out. I was totally there. I just remember going like, holy crap, I have the biggest headache of my life.
Yeah. And you still fought with it. Like,
well, and the fight was over, but I wasn't knocked out. Yeah. So, I mean, I've gotten my face broken 3 times, and it didn't knock me out. So it's like, I'm not getting knocked out, multiple times. I actually trip out on some of these, the guys that are getting knocked out, every couple fights, and then they're still fighting. It's like, well, that's kind of weird because that's not how I've had to deal with it.
Those fights with your brother toughen you up, I think, acclimated.
So the street fights.
There's no mercy. Yeah, there's no mercy.
You'll be successful against some street fights. Test it. Test it out. It's gonna go.
I don't condone that.
No, don't get that shit. Sorry.
Well, we're gonna let you get back to your day and your training, and tune in, guys. December 9th, UFC. Which one is that? So Fight Night. Okay.
Yeah,
so
Fight Night Fresno.
Excellent. Thanks again for stopping in and bringing these guys with you, and we will see you around for the rest of a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yes. It's the best version of me, I can promise that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Let's do it. And just quick shout out to our sponsor real quick, CBD Boutique, a local company that makes this show possible every week, and we bring all these superstar guests. Right, so thank you, CBD Boutique.
CBD Boutique, local company. They got good products for inflammation, for pain, for whatever other purposes that you're going to need it for. Even getting into the pet line, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is a game changer
for your hyperactive dogs and cats.
And I would like
keep your dogs on a leash.
I would like some of that product for myself as of January 1st.
Exactly.
When
we bring that up. Yeah.
And then 2, my dog is psycho. My dog has anxiety issues.
So you're familiar with CBD? So you're familiar with the CBD stuff?
I just started hearing about it, and I'm like,
it's getting
everyone is on that.
Yeah.
Everyone. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those holistic things that, screw the pain medications. Yeah, let's try something different.
I'm totally against pain meds. I think it's the devil.
I've been on that stuff, bro, because of my back problem, man. I don't know how I got off.
Yeah.
It's a devil. Like, it's a devil. It's available. It's so available to everyone. Just like it's an epidemic, actually.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Literally is right now.
Every YouTube channel I return, the first thing pops up about oxycodone and prescription medication, man. Like, it's everywhere.
And now everyone's on heroin.
Yeah. It is legally available heroin. That's what oxycodone and oxycontin.
But heroin is cheaper. That's why people are on heroin now.
Exactly.
It's the biggest drug.
You don't need a prescription. You can just go to your street corner, your little street drug dealer or pharmacist, whatever they call them. But we'll talk to our CBD buddies and see if we can get you some samples. And
okay, I'm gonna get my dog fixed
for after January 1st when the UFC makes it.
I'll ask them. I gotta ask them. Maybe they'll mail it to your home.
Okay.
Well, next time we'll see them because we're gonna sit down and talk to them and stuff.
Yeah, great partners, great people.
Yeah, great
That's
partners,
awesome.
great people. They're big in the sport. They actually, the guy, one of the owners, he's like a daredevil type of thing, like BMX and biking, and
he was a big.
So he's like his whole body is screwed up.
Those guys.
He was one of those big sponsored BMX guys. Yeah, it's the motocross guys.
He probably doesn't have a spleen, I'm sure.
Yeah,
most of those, that's like the first thing they lose.
Yeah, so
and they have direct connection with Colorado Farms. Mm-hmm. So it's not one of those things that gets delivered from somewhere, China or whatever. It's it's foolproof at that point. So they select good stuff.
Yeah,
and it's pretty potent stuff. I've been taking every day, and it kind of keeps me calm.
Yeah,
so. He needs it.
Yeah. But anyway, Cub, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys.
Great teammate, man. Great person. Keep up good work.
See you around.
Thank you. All right.
Through these doors walk the greatest fighters in the world.